Bred to Win, brought to you by Arrowfield, the home of four-time champion sire Schnitzel.
Hello, I'm Searcy. Welcome to the return of Bred to Win for 2024. Coming up, we review a huge day of autumn racing at Royal Randwick. What an incredible sale it was at Riverside Stables as the 2024 Inglis Easter Yearling Sale created waves around the thoroughbred bloodstock world. And the first of a new Arrowfield Stud sponsored segment, Industry Influencers, starting with the boss himself, John Messara. That's all coming up, but first, plenty happening in the bloodstock world. Let's review it in our Ozhorse News.
This is unbelievable. Pride of Jenny, about 30 lengths in front in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes.
We start our look back on day 2 of the championships at Royal Randwick with one of the most memorable Queen Elizabeth Stakes you'll ever see, as Pride of Jenny defied a top-class field to dominate from the front and take out the $5 million weight for age feature.
This is a demolition job. Pride of Jenny in the Queen Elizabeth Stakes.
By former top 2-year-old Pride of Dubai. She's a granddaughter of Zabil's Queensland Oaks winner Vouvray and was bred by New Zealand's Trelawney Stud and sold by Searcy Stud for $100,000 at the Inglis Classic Yearling Sale.
Zardozi and Autumn Angel, Orchestral needs the left, Autumn Angel.
Former champion colt, the Autumn Sun, has his first Group 1 winner as a stallion in one of the great breed-shaping classics, the ATC Australian Oaks. Autumn Angel relished the 1.5 miles to beat a class field of 3-year-old fillies. We featured her on Bred to Win as one of the best types by her sire as a foal in his first season at stud, and she also featured as a yearling in our 2022 Inglis Easter preview, bought by Wiley Dalziel and Peter Moody for $230,000. She's from the Hussein mare Angel of Mercy, a 4-time stakes winner and close relation to 4-time Group 1 winner Divine Madonna.
Zoo Gotcha got to a narrow lead from Macarena.
Another Group 1 winner on the day to have featured in our Inglis Easter Yearling Sale previews was remarkable Zoo Star mare Zoo Gotcha, who graduated from winning the Princess Series at 3 to take out her second Group 1 of this preparation, the Queen of the Turf. From the Fastnet Rock mare Fast Talker, the Whitten Studbred mare was a $500,000 buy for Chris Waller and Guy Mulcaster, with her quality evident from early on in the paddocks of her birthplace at Whitten. Zoo Star also signed Group 2 winner of the Arrowfield Stud Stakes, Jolly Star, racing in the Cambridge Stud colours, a $950,000 Inglis Easter yearling from Searcy Stud. Other Group 2 winners at Randwick were Anisa in the Percy Sykes Stakes by Exceed and Excel from Sweet Sherry, sold to Kiora Stud, and TFI by Silverdale Farm at last year's Magic Millions Yearling Sale, and Schnitzel's Sapphire Stakes winner Wee Nessie, a $400,000 Arrowfield yearling, also sold through Magic Millions.
Air Assault 1.5 clear, Warmonger comes again.
In Adelaide, feature races included the 4th stakes race win for Justify's Air Assault, bred by Harry Perks from Elegant Eagle, who's also dam of Champagne Stakes winner Go Indy Go, and DC McKay Stakes winner SA Raider. The incredible successes of the Tate family's whisked pedigree continued as Mendelssohn filly Wings of Song, from a half-sister to the great Tie the Knot, scored her 4th stakes success in the Group 3 Auraria Stakes. And in retirement news, 10-time Group 1 winner Imperatriz has run her last race, and the race is on to see which sales company will have the honour of selling the daughter of I Am Invincible for the Tiakau racing team. And Newmarket Handicap winning Colt Cylinder has also been retired to stand at Darley, Victoria. The son of Exceed and Excel earned nearly $3.7 million and is a close relation to champion sire Lonhro. Time for a break. On Bred to Win coming up, the Cambridge Stud Performance of the Week, and we look back at a thrilling 2024 Inglis Australian Easter Yearling Sale.
Circle of Fire beating off Athabaskan.
The $2 million Sydney Cup is our Cambridge Stud Performance of the Week, with their faith in champion European galloper Almanzor franked as he provided the quinella in the time-honoured staying contest. Circle of Fire is a 4-year-old entire from the Galileo mare Fiery Sunset and was bred by the late Queen of England. He beat home another top-staying son of Almanzor, Athabaskan, both conceived in the Northern Hemisphere. Circle of Fire hails from the incredible broodmare influenced Best in Show, whose descendants include breed shaper Redout's Choice. Almanzor also had Nucleazor take out the listed Welcome Stakes for 2-year-olds at Riccarton, with his service fee for 2024 yet to be announced. The son of Wootton Bassett won the British and Irish Champion Stakes and the French Derby. The 2024 Inglis Australian Easter Yearling Sale was an outstanding event in the global thoroughbred breeding world, highlighted of course by the sale of the first daughter of the mighty mare Winx. But there were plenty of other highlights for industry investors, for buyers, for people who just love seeing these gorgeous young thoroughbreds strutting their stuff here at the Riverside Stables.
At 10 million, last chance, done.
Mark, congratulations to you and the whole Inglis team on an incredible sale. We know, of course, the Winx filly, which we will, of course, get to very shortly, was an absolute highlight for $10 million. But so many other great stories for vendors, buyers, you know, your whole team here. Everyone really had a great 2 days.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. Yeah, we're thrilled. There's a lot of pressure with a filly out of Winx to sell. You know, we marketed it to the world. Our team did a great job. The Coolmore team did a fantastic job in presenting her, and you know, was dealing with the ownership group. You know, it's difficult for them, a high pressure situation. But all of it came together really well. I couldn't have imagined a result any better.
Yeah, I mean, the overall stats, like this is obviously just at the end of the sale, average 432,000, median 300,000, and, you know, round about that 80% clearance mark, of course, once some of the pass-ins are done. So what's your immediate sort of reaction at the end of the sale?
Yeah, I'm a little bit shocked, honestly. That's a record average and probably a record median. The gross is not quite a record, but it's up 12 million on last year, and last year we were celebrating and dancing around the place. So the results are fantastic. Even taking out the $10 million filly, you know, the sale would have been up on last year. Not many people would have been predicting that. I think very few sales this year across the board have been up. Look, it's all come together really well, and as I said, couldn't be happier.
Last chance, done.
To think that we have this mare today who has had a foal and now a yearling by Pierro, and such a good looking filly. For the behind the scenes of what we went through to get here today, it couldn't happen without the most understanding owners. They grew up beside us in our farms, we're together in the Hunter Valley, and I've known Debbie since I was young, and they have been so good to us.
I didn't come here to buy this horse originally. We put her up for auction, and then in the last few weeks, all of the family, we started to miss our daughter, granddaughter. So we just decided that as best we could, if we could get her, we would. I am privileged to have been able to secure this filly on behalf of my family, to be able to hopefully see if she can get to the racetrack. If she can't get to the racetrack, she'll be an amazing mum. She's Australian forever, and she's going to be just fabulous. So thank you everybody for all your love and care for this beautiful horse. Hopefully she'll do a Winx, but look, it doesn't matter if she doesn't.
Well, talking about the Pierro Winx, lot 391, $10 million. I mean, we saw all week here and prior, you know, in our preview, the amount of interest in her on social media, all the inspections this gorgeous filly had here at Riverside. There was so much hype leading up to it. What was your experience of that? I mean, we heard, you know, John Stewart, and we'll talk about that in a minute too with the bidding, but before the sale, you know, this was something really unseen before, wasn't it?
It isn't seen, and the days leading up to the sale, in fact weeks leading up to the sale, constantly seeing stories in the news bulletins around the Winx filly sort of puts pressure on you. Every time you see one, you think everyone's going to be watching, we really need to get this job done. But it also made her top of mind with everything we're doing, and so all of us were scouting out, looking for potential bidders on the Winx filly, people that may not normally support our sales but might be interested with a collector's item, and that sort of led to John Stewart.
Yeah, well, coming into the ring, of course, there's just the hush. Even a couple of lots before, the auditorium was packed. You know, we've not seen it like that before, and so many people were here because it is a part of history. You know, she was such a champion. 4 Cox Plates, and Coolmore, as you said, have done a great team. But the excitement of her in the ring, and Jonathan Darcy just doing a great job as always to sell this filly for $10 million.
Yeah, it was exciting, wasn't it? And you know, there was strong bidding from all the parties involved. And although I was on the phone bidding on behalf of a client, I could hear the oohs and the ahs each time. It was like a game of tennis, someone hitting the ball across the net, a million here, a million there, and off it went. Yeah, I can't wait to watch some replays of all of it, because it was a great moment, but I was a little distracted at the time with all of that going on. But something is very hard to replicate, as you know, Caroline. I mean, horse sales are not just about the selling of horses and the transaction side of it. It's about the theatre. We've said that for a long time. It's why we've built the sales auditorium the way it is. It's set up like a theatre with a elevated stage for that type of experience, and I think we delivered that today.
Yeah, and your client was there right to $9 million. We saw the shake of their head and everything. And Deb Kepitis, what a great result for her with Whoppet Bloodstock. I mean, obviously, to explain to people that don't understand, you know, there are several owners in Winx and selling the filly, but Deb was just determined, only in the last few days apparently, to keep this girl she loves so much.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I mean, there were 3 ownership groups in Winx. There still are 3 ownership groups. And of course that meant three ownership groups in the filly produced by Winx. They took a view the best way to proceed was to put it through the ring, and if any of the current owners wanted to buy out the others, they could, and of course we marketed it to potential buyers around the world. So it's a very fair and a transparent process. We saw that today. It's all on camera, everyone can see. And in this case, I'm delighted that Deb's been able to buy that filly outright now, rather than owning 33 1/3. She now owns 100% of the filly with her family, and God bless them. They just love the industry. They're great investors. They stay in our beautiful William Inglis hotel for the week leading up to the sale, and great outcome for her. She's the last person standing.
At $3 million, how was the phone? I sell inside, I'll take your one.
Looking at some of the other top lots, I mean, $3 million, of course, for the Vinnie I'm Invincible Booker filly. So John Stewart, he was still spending up big despite missing out on the top lot there, and that was also through Coolmore. But again, we're talking about a Group 1 winning mare, and I Am Invincible, the dual champion Australian sire, is the second top lot of the sale.
Yeah, that's right. Look, John loved her. I mean, I should point out that John did fly down here. I met him in Kentucky, and then he flew down for the slipper, and he was able to look at some horses whilst he was here. He didn't really know about the sale until I met him over there, and he brought it on to his attention. He was coming for the slipper, so it was opportunistic for him to look at some horses, and that's one, of course, that he looked at. And yeah, he was thrilled to be bidding on a filly of that sort of quality. It was a bit tricky, he was bidding on the Winx filly at his place with a room full of people, and we've seen videos of all of them. You know, they had sale day live on their on a large television, and it's just people from everywhere. I think even people from other auction houses in Lexington.
Got in on the action.
Yeah, they're all there after the races in Keelan, and watching that. And so when he missed out, they all went home like 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and then so I said, "Are you still interested in the Booker filly?"
Yes.
And I got a reply, "Yes, I'm in bed, but I'm happy to bid." So he was bidding whilst in bed, 2:20 a.m. in the morning, in his pajamas, bidding on the filly to me on the phone. So he felt a great connection between two continents and two, you know, major racing jurisdictions, and he thought that that connection is something really special, and he wants to keep doing and getting other people to experience. Yeah.
Great for the industry, absolutely. And lot 227, third top lot, the Zoo Star Prompt Response filly. We showed this gorgeous girl in the paddocks there at Widden Stud, strutting her stuff. She was always a beautiful filly. Again, you know, wonderful race filly, Prompt Response. But 2.2 million to James Harron, of course, coming off the back of Espionage, winning the Kindergarten Stakes.
John Camilleri, of course, is one of the best breeders in the country, bred Winx, as we know. James Harron got a great eye for yearlings in general. He's probably known for buying colts initially, but he's certainly now buying these lovely fillies for clients as well, for boutique breeders. Yeah, great to see that result yesterday. Top lot of the day. Andy Thompson and his crew at Widden, you know, I mean, they're all high-fiving and celebrating. I think it exceeded their expectations, and they were delighted, but so well deserved. And I mean, the Zoo Star fillies, they can't do any better.
Zoo Star Fundamentalist was the next top lot, 1.9 from Sedgenho to Tom Magnier. But when you look at the end of the sale, obviously size list, Zoo Star is on top just at the moment from I Am Invincible and Schnitzel. Obviously, there are passing, lots could change. But seriously, what an incredible result. 18.7 million at the end of the sale for Zoo Star.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, great result for Zoo Star. Vinnie's around 18 million and Schnitzel as well. They're all within 800,000 of each other. So delighted. I think it might be the first time the Zoo Star has been on the top of the averages at this sale. But as you say, with a few passing lots, that could change. But 3 leading stallions, and they really have driven this sale. Zoo Star, Schnitzel and I Am Invincible. And yeah, the market just can't get enough of them.
And buyers, of course, Wappet with the one lot, Wappet Bloodstock, but China Horse Club Newgate with Go Bloodstock and Trilogy. Good spread of buyers, really, really great people supporting the industry.
I think that shows how healthy it is, Caroline, because nobody dominated. You know, last time, you know, when we were setting records 10 or so years ago, you'd have buyers spending 10 or 20 million, in some cases 20, at Easter. But, you know, we don't have that. We're not relying on one big buyer. I mean, an example would be Yulong last year. I think, you know, they may have spent 12 or 13 million from memory, but I don't think they purchased at this sale. The sale still carried on without them, and you know, they had a great sale as a vendor, I think, Yulong, and we really appreciate their business, and we always love it when they're buying. But I think we've shown the resilience that if they're not buying, for whatever reason that might be, we can still carry on and someone steps in to fill those shoes.
It's a very even spread, isn't it? And then finally, the leading vendor, Coolmore, coming out on top. Even without the $10 million Winx filly, they came out on top, which was fabulous to see. Arrowfield, Widden, Sedgenho, Newgate, Yulong, all having great sales as well. So again, that really good spread of you know, the people that are propping up the industry to a large degree. We need all the small breeders. You need, you know, everybody that's sort of maybe only buying, selling, breeding a small amount of mares. But the big players at Inglis Easter, this is what really supports the entire industry, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and we need that. And congratulations to Coolmore, Tom Magnier, the whole team. They have really, really stepped up. Their clients, the breeders on their farm that are boarding their mares there and having their yearlings raised by the Coolmore team. You can see that. I mean, the Winx filly is an example, but there's plenty of others that are using Coolmore to manage their yearlings and their broodmares and getting a great result. But we need all of those large breeders to support the sale, and of course the small ones. The larger ones tend to be able to do a lot of marketing on their own, and so they add that extra element and give us that advantage.
So at the end of the sale, now everyone's having a deserved champagne and a beer and so on, and back here again next year. But it was just something else, this sale, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I had a really good feel to it, Caroline, and appreciate your coverage of the sale and just the support from the general public at large. And if they're watching this show, they should get involved. If they're not involved yet, get involved in some shape or form. Buy a share in a horse, race it, or get involved in breeding.
Thank you very much for the competition. Great to have you all here.
What an outstanding 2 days it was, and I can't wait to see those yearlings become the champions of the turf in the future. Coming up after the break, a new segment on Bred to Win, Arrowfield Stud's industry influences. And we start with the Arrowfield principal, John Messara, talking about an incredible figure who's been such an influence on racing and breeding in the past century.
Well, probably one of the most important people in my life, certainly in relation to the thoroughbred industry and also personally, was Percy Sykes, the great vet, who passed away, sadly, quite a few years ago now. I had a lot to do with him. He was the vet that Bart Cummings recommended when we first bought Scomeld, which was an important purchase for us. She'd won the VRC Oaks and we purchased her for future racing and breeding. So that was a sort of foundation mare. And Percy came and did the work on her, etc. And that was my first interaction with Percy. And over time, our relationship grew, where ultimately I'd speak to him every day. He joined the board of Arrowfield and he became a very close personal friend and advisor. It meant so much to me in a lot of ways, but I learned a lot from him. He was so knowledgeable. He'd been around so long with horses. Some people don't know that, for example, he did his vet work, his vet studies in England. He was by an English father out of an Italian mother, born in the Sudan. So to some extent, we had some a similar background in a way, you know. He was in the army and the Mounted Corps, and went to India with the Mounted Corps. And you can imagine the injuries and the diseases they might have picked up in those days in India, horses. So his experience was vast. And he came to Australia and he revolutionised the training of horses and the vets and the part vets played. I always believed he was an important factor in the success of T.J. Smith, the greatest of all time, and Bart Cummings, another great, super great. So he certainly was someone that had an enormous depth of knowledge to do with horses. He saved Tulloch. That was another one of his sort of public acknowledgements. But he had an enormous knowledge about horses and someone who had a great influence on me to do with, particularly with the horse business.
And of course you have a great story about the first time you laid eyes on Danehill, and that was with Percy.
Yeah, well, we went overseas together to look at Danehill. We'd identified him as a target, and we went over and we went to Jeremy Tree's yard, and they pulled him out, and Percy and I were diagonal to him, and as he walked out of his box, his near fore, you could see he was back of the knee a little bit. And I immediately saw that, and so did Percy. He said, "Sonny, don't worry about that. Star Kingdom was exactly the same." And that was one issue I set aside, which in those days breeders were very concerned about horses that were back of the knee. He said, in Australia it doesn't seem to affect them too much. So these are the sort of things, there were a lot of episodes like that where Percy was a bit of a lifesaver in making those decisions. Always impeccably dressed. People would think, well, hang on, how can he be a hands-on vet? He's dressed to kill, you know. He had the cream top and the cream pants and the cream shoes, and he just looked magnificent, always beautifully, looking beautiful. And I remember travelling that same year to France and going into François Boutin's yard and looking for stallion prospects, etc. As soon as I walked in, I said, "François, I'd like you to meet Percy Sykes." "Ha, this is the famous Dr. Percy Sykes?" I said, "Yes." "Doctor, can you help me on some problems I've got here?" Before I knew it, he'd whisked him away to look at problem horses he had that nobody else could resolve. Or the time the Emir of Qatar called him because his favourite horse was lame and no one else could fix it. He flew him over just to look at that one horse and flew back. And the watch that Percy wore for the rest of his life was a gift from the Emir, because he resolved the horse's problem.
You know, you've paid him the ultimate compliment and mark of respect, haven't you, with that wonderful statue right outside the Arrowfield Stud office?
I believe in venerating people and horses that have done great things for Arrowfield, so I've got a Schnitzel and a Reduced Choice statue. I don't want anyone to forget about them when I'm gone, you know. And then I've got Percy there, just at the entrance to the office, standing up, having a fag with his mobile phone on the side, and exactly the stance he used to take when we were in little board meetings there at Arrowfield, and we got to talking cash flows and money. He said, well, that's not the side of the business I know. I'm going out to have a cigarette. And he'd go out to the front, and exactly that was his stance. Hand in the pocket, cigarette there. So I wanted that immortalised, and I think of him very, very often. It was very dear to me, yeah.
Some great memories there from John Messara about the legendary Percy Sykes, and thanks to Arrowfield Stud for their continued support of Bred to Win. That's all for this week's show. Don't miss next week as we wrap up more great Autumn Carnival racing from Royal Randwick and start the first of our Bred to Win Legends series with an extended interview with Hall of Fame trainer, the total gentleman, Neville Begg. That and much more. I'm Caroline Searcy. I look forward to seeing you then.
Bred to Win, brought to you by Arrowfield, the home of 4-time champion sire Snitzel.